Hi everyone, welcome to the Stitches and Scribbles channel. My name is Erin and today I'm going to be showing you how to do the 4 Seasons cardigan that I featured in my previous vlog. This is a really simple granny stitch short-sleeved cardigan or vest depending on how you look at it, and it's crocheted all in one piece. This makes it really great for self-striping yarn or yarn cakes that have like a gradient colorway to them because it won't disrupt the gradient pattern as you're working through the yarn. I'm going to be making this in a tiny size today, something that would be more suited for a stuffed animal, but you can check out the vlog on my channel. It's called the 4 Seasons cardigan, and I crocheted it using my hand-dyed yarn that I got in Door County, Wisconsin, so you can check that out if you kind of want to see what a full version of this looks like. But just like I did for my original hexagon cardigan videos that are also posted to my channel, this one will just be made in a tiny size for the purposes of showing you how to do the shaping. Obviously, making things in a granny stitch is not really a unique idea, so I kind of do it that way and just release it as a tutorial instead of a full pattern because it is a pretty simple concept. I will also be doing future versions of this video with different stitch patterns. To start off, I have fingering weight yarn because that's what I used for my original version in the vlog, but you can use any yarn that you want for this. You can make it in something bulky, you can make it in worsted weight, you can make it in fingering weight. It is totally up to you. Just make sure that you have plenty of yardage if you're using a thinner yarn. I am just using a scrap ball from my box of sock weight scraps, and I'm putting that off to the side in my yarn bowl over here. I also have my hook. I chose to use a 4mm hook for this sample project, and it's also the hook size that I used for the real cardigan that I made. I would use one that's a little bit bigger than what you would normally use for the weight yarn that you have chosen so that you get some good drape out of your fabric. The other thing to remember, if you choose a really bulky yarn, you're going to have a stiffer piece of fabric when you're done, so just keep that in mind when you're considering shape and overall fit of the sweater. Let's go ahead and get started. The way we start off this cardigan is basically as a granny square with a split down the middle of one side, and I'll kind of show you what that means as we start working it up. Start with a slip knot. And for this first step, you can use the magic loop method if you want to. I just don't prefer the magic loop. So I will be doing a chain 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then joining that in a circle to make a little loop that we can work our first set of stitches into. We're going to start with half of a normal granny cluster stitch because this is going to be part of the split side that we want to keep open. So I'm going to start with a chain 3, and I'm going to do 1 double crochet into that chain 4 circle. That's going to be the first half of side 1. Then I'm going to chain 3, and I'm going to do a granny cluster in the circle. So that's 3 double crochets together. So I have half of one side, a corner, and a second side. Now I'm going to chain 3 again for another corner and do another set of 3 double crochets. So now that's 2 corners and 2 complete sides and 1 half side. I'm going to chain 3 again and do my last full side, so 3 double crochets. Now I'm going to chain 3 for my final corner and do 2 double crochets for the second half of the side we started with. So it looks kind of like the beginning of a normal granny square. We just have a split in that one granny cluster. Now we're going to turn our work, and you'll be turning your work between rows for every row of this project. I'm going to start with a chain 4, and that's going to count as a double crochet and a chain 1 space to cover the kind of mini cluster that we already made. Then we're going to do 3 double crochet in the corner, kind of scoot them to the front, then chain 3 and do 3 more double crochet in the corner. For most of this row until we get to the end, it should feel like doing a normal granny square stitch. So we're going to chain 1 to kind of bridge the gap over the granny cluster, then do 3 double crochets in the corner, chain 3, and do 3 double crochets in the corner again. Then chain 1 to go over your granny cluster, do 3 double crochets in the corner, chain 3, and do 3 more double crochets in that corner. Then chain 1, we're at our last corner, so 3 double crochets, chain 3, 3 double crochets in the same corner, now we're going to finish off the row with a chain 1 and a double crochet in the top of that chain 3 that we did in the previous row. Like so. From here on out until we're done with the first part of the cardigan, you're going to alternate between starting your rows with a chain 4 or starting with a granny cluster. Our next one is going to be starting with a granny cluster because we started with a chain 4 last time. So you're going to chain 3. That counts as your first double crochet, and then do 2 double crochets in that chain 1 gap. There's your first granny cluster. Then chain 1 to bridge over the granny cluster from the previous row, and we're going to work a corner. So 3 double crochets, chain 3, then do another 3 double crochets. Chain 1 to jump over the granny cluster and do 3 double crochets in that space in the middle. Chain 1 and work your corner with 3 double crochets, then a chain 3 and 3 more double crochets. Now we're going to chain 1 to jump over the granny cluster, do 3 double crochets in that space. Another chain 1 and work a corner, 3 double crochets. Chain 3. And 3 more double crochets. Chain 1, 3 double crochets in the chain 1 space. Chain 1, work a corner with 3 double crochets. Then a chain 3, and then 3 more double crochets. chain 1, and now we're left with our final space. So we're going to do 2 double crochets in that space, and you're going to work your last double crochet into the 3rd stitch of the chain 4. So not all the way in the last one, but the 3rd chain, and that kind of just secures it to the edge so that that cluster doesn't slide around. So that's what it looks like so far. I'm going to show you one more row starting with the chain 4 again, but otherwise you just keep working this in pattern. So you can go back and replay row 3 to see directions for when you need to start with a granny cluster, or you can replay row 4, which is what I'm about to start now, to see one that starts with a chain 4. So I'm going to turn my work and chain 4, skip over that first set of double crochets and go ahead and do 3 double crochets in the next space. Chain 1 and work a corner, 3 double crochets, chain 3, and another 3 double crochets. Chain 1, 3 double crochets in the chain 1 space, chain 1, 3 double crochets in the chain 1 space, chain 1, work a corner, 3 double crochets, chain 3, 3 double crochets, chain 1, 3 double crochets in a chain 1 space, chain 1, 3 double crochets in the chain 1 space, chain 1, work a corner, 3 double crochets, chain 3, 3 double crochets in the same corner space, chain 1, 3 double crochets in the chain 1 space, chain 1, 3 double crochets in the chain 1 space, chain 1, work a corner, 3 double crochets, chain 3, 3 more double crochets in the same space, chain 1, 3 double crochets in the chain 1 space, and now we're at almost at the end of our row. So since we started with a chain 4, we're going to end with a chain 1 and a double crochet in the 3rd chain of the chain 3 from the previous row. And that's it for row 4. So you're going to continue in pattern to work up the granny square, and you want to stop working this section of the pattern when the square is as wide as you want the cardigan to sit. So essentially, if this is the center, this part is going to be the back, and the split part is going to be the front panels. So if I kind of fold down our tiny granny square, That's what the top of your cardigan is going to look like. So you want to stop making the square when this part is the width you want from your neck to your shoulder. I like mine to sit a little bit past my shoulder so that it drops down a little bit. You also want to make sure that this measurement, so half of one side, is half of what you want the armhole width to be. This ends up being quite an oversized armhole, at least on me and the way that I like my proportions to be, but it's totally your preference. I just like it to sit a little bit off of my shoulder. I'm going to continue working this for a few more rows, and then I'm going to show you how to join for the body. All right, I'm going to call it good for the size that I want to make it. Again, this is a very, very tiny size. You would make it to your measurements. I'm going to start my next row. It does not matter if you end with a cluster row or a space row. Both will work because the joining is at the corner, which is the same for both rows. So since my row happens to be one where I would start with a chain 4, I'm going to do that. And then work as normal until I get to the corner. I'm just doing those 3 double crochets and a chain 1 between each set of 3. Okay, now that I'm at the corner, I'm going to chain 1 and do my first 3 double crochets in the corner like I normally would. But then I'm not going to complete the corner. I'm going to do a chain 1, skip an entire side, and do my next set of 3 double crochets in the next corner. Then I'm going to chain 1 and continue along the next side until I get to the corner. Just plain old granny stitch all the way across. Almost there. Okay, we're in our next corner, so we're going to do, I did my chain 1, and we'll do 3 double crochets in the corner. Then chain 1, skip an entire side, and work 3 double crochets into the next corner. Then finish the side as you would normally. And because of how I started the row, I'm ending with a chain 1 and a double crochet in the chain 3, but you can end with a cluster if you need to. Okay, so pulling it back kind of the right way, this is what we've got going on right now. So we have essentially created the armholes by making that chain 1 and skipping an entire side. So from here on out, the sweater is just going to work down instead of out and down from the center. I'm going to show you one more row just to show you how to work through the armhole. So my next row is starting with a chain 3 and 2 double crochets, but you can do the chain 4 if that's what you are starting on for this row. And we're just going to work the granny stitch as normal. And I'll show you what to do when we get to the armhole. I like projects like this because they're very repetitive and you don't need to carry a pattern around with you once you get it started, which makes it really nice for car trips or taking to cafes, things like that. Okay. I'm at the armhole. I'm going to chain 1, and we're just going to treat this chain 1 under the armhole like it's a regular chain 1 space. So just 3 double crochets over that chain 1, like that. And then just continue until you get to the next armhole. So pretty easy to do, even if you're doing this kind of on the go. You just treat that chain 1 between the chain 1 at the edge of the armhole like it's a regular chain 1 space from the rest of the pattern. We've now reached the other armhole, and just like before, I'm going to treat it like a normal chain 3 space, or chain 1 space, and do 3 double crochets in there. If you're hearing that sound off to the side, that's just the yarn spinning around in the yarn bowl as I pull it. And we'll finish off the row as normal. And one last cluster, and when you end it, remember to work into the 3rd stitch of the chain instead of just the opening. There we have the beginnings of our little cardigan. I'm going to work up a few more rows just to kind of show you what the finished proportions should look like, but at this point you can kind of do it however you prefer. If you want more of a cropped or a hip length one, you can stop when you reach that length. If you want it to be a tunic, you can keep going. You could even make it like knee length or longer if you really wanted to and had enough yarn for it. But this is kind of the basic pattern. The rest of the rows, you're just working the granny stitch essentially flat. It just looks like you're doing it along 3 sides, but it is, there's no increases or decreases anywhere. You just keep working back and forth in that granny pattern. All right, this is what it looks like after a few more rows have been worked up. I made just a very short version just so you can kind of see what it looks like. But this is a really great way to use, like I said earlier, a self-striping or a fade yarn, because since the way it's worked up, it won't disrupt the color striping patterns. I use kind of a funky one for this example. This is actually a mock Fair Isle yarn that is self-striping and meant for socks, so that's why it looks a little funny, but you can see kind of how the stripes appeared in the little tiny cardigan, so it still served its purpose. But let me know if you enjoyed this tutorial. I do plan on doing other versions of this with other stitch patterns so that there are other options for how to make it. I haven't tried this yet, but I would expect that you could also continue the granny stitch to make sleeves. That wouldn't work as well with a fade yarn, obviously, unless you cut it to color match the sleeves working down or chose a different color for the sleeves. But you could make this into a long sleeve cardigan if you wanted to, just by doing the granny stitch in the round around the sleeves. And you can make it as long as you want. You could also do little buttons or ties to kind of close it in the front, totally up to you. This does end up sitting kind of in a slouchy way, so it almost ends up opening like this because of where your neck sits, and it's a little longer in the back and the front than in the front when it's on. But that's going to be it for this tutorial. Hope you liked it. If you liked what you saw today, make sure you hit the subscribe button down below so that you can be notified of all of my crafty content right here on YouTube. And if you would like to follow me on other social media sites, that information will be in the description box below. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, everyone.